today we are going to work on getting the rear suspension on Project 8 Ball, our Squarebody C10. We've been working really hard on this new product with help of my good friend Nick down at N-Charge Fabrication in Arizona. He helps us design some of our more complicated products. We have spent an insane amount of time perfecting this new kit between fitment and geometry. I'm super proud of this new kit. This thing is really cool. It's all bolt-on. Not everybody can weld, right? Not everybody has the capability of welding parts on. I mean, even axle brackets. So that's all bolt-on. The notch, the front brackets, super proud of this product. Really excited to get it out there for you guys. We weren't gonna do this yet, but we get so many calls. A, where's the videos? And B, what are you guys doing for rear suspension, front suspension? Today, we're gonna get this 4-link installed. I'm gonna go over every part of it and kind of explain why we did it and why it's beneficial to you and your truck for an actual performance-minded suspension. All right, so this is what the truck started out with, is just our standard 73 to 87 half-ton C-notch, right? So this was just on our frame rail. We sell a lot of these. This is a great product. If you already have this, you're partially the way there because you've already cut your frame, all right? But unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to use this on the 4-link kit. And the reason we're not is because we made these massive notches. They're huge. And these took a lot of time to fit and perfect. And they're awesome, okay? They're gonna spread this distance out a lot more than our standard notch. And we're also tying a lot of things for the 4-link, like the Panhard Bar, like a coilover, tubular brace, coilover mounts, Panhard Bar mount is welded on. We've got tons of adjustment, coilover mount. They're wider, they're beefy, and we like beefy. So here we already have our frame notch cut in. This opening on the new notch is a little bit bigger, so you will have to trim this out. I'm not gonna show you guys this. Obviously I can't because I've already cut my truck up. But I will say that, how can I show you guys? This hole right here, both sides, is a factory hole. That is our alignment hole. So you'll use your template with the kit to align that hole. It'll show you where to cut the notch out. Our template is not going to show you where you need to drill all these holes because you cut this out, that's already lined, slide your notch on, and now you know exactly where all your holes go, including holes on the top. So we're bolting 1/2-inch bolts from the top, the side, the bottom, and this thing is a unit. I don't know, this thing probably weighs, where are you? This thing probably weighs like 20 pounds. Maybe I'm weak, maybe it's like 15 pounds, but this is all 3/16 plate, and I really like how it turned out. So first thing I'm gonna do, I already have my frame cut. If I was doing this from scratch, I will just remind you guys, do one side at a time. Do not cut both of your frame rails and then try to put the notch on because there's no support back here with cutting this frame rail out until you get these big bad boys on here, okay? So just cut one side at a time. Never put a jack stand in the back behind your cut. Put them in front. This is not structural at this point with cutting out, but it is necessary to get down low to the ground. All right, so I've already got this cut out, obviously. This is the same notch that came off of here. I probably cut, can you see me? I probably cut enough parts to do 10 kits at this point. Like, we'll build this, tack it all together, come fit it and be like, hey, we could do that better. So I just kind of expressing like how much time we took to do this kit and to make it fit extremely well. So So I've already got my notch cut. If you haven't cut your notches and you're doing it, friendly reminder, don't forget about brake lines, wiring, stuff like that, things that we would have gone over in the first video for doing our first notch. So I'm just gonna take a soft hammer. This is why we're not including bolt holes in our template, is because, again, we're using this specific hole here to locate the entire notch, but there's no better template than the actual part, okay? So at this point, if I didn't have my holes drilled, I would be drilling these, and I would be starting with a pilot bit, like always, 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch. These are 1/2 inch holes for 1/2 inch bolt. I like to use what's called a ream. So I'll get like 1/8, 1/4, maybe 3/8 drilled up. It's just always easier to step up your drill bits. It's honestly faster, but you can get what they call a ream. It's a tapered drill bit, and those things are awesome. As long as you have a hole started, it will eat through the material super fast and be a super clean hole. It doesn't catch like a regular drill bit will. So I would highly recommend ordering yourself a ream, because just in these notches between the two is 26 1/2 inch bolts, okay? It's a lot of bolts. It's a lot of holes. You're gonna be pissed by the end of it if you don't have a good set of drill bits, so. Okay, well, putting on the second notch here, and good and bad, I realized I didn't drill all the bolts out on this side. We really spent a lot of our time on one side, fitting it and getting it right, but we didn't drill all the holes because we were still changing things. We don't want to be putting extra holes in the frame and then not using that hole because we had to change whatever. So, so this is a great opportunity though for us to kind of show you. This is what they would call a ream. It's tapered. The flutes on it are spiral cut more, and see how it's pointed here and it gets thicker here. So this is a 9/16 taper. We're putting 1/2 inch holes. It doesn't really matter the diameter because you can stick this in there. You don't have to go all the way. You can go, what I do is I use a bigger one and I just go until the bolt, we're using 1/2 inch bolts on this one. I can just go until the bolt fits in there. Another great thing about a ream is that, like this one here, I know I'm not even gonna try to show you because you're not gonna be able to see it, but the hole is just a little bit off, and that's probably a hole that was on the last set of notches we had on here. And it's just, you know, a 1/16, maybe a little more off. It's tapered, so I can just stick this in here and it's going to center up that hole wherever I want it. So another great option for a ream. You can get these on Amazon. There's also a company called McMaster-Carr, CARR.com. McMaster Carr has drill bits, metal, fittings. I mean, they have everything on there. It's like an Amazon, but for like fabricators. So if you haven't heard of McMaster Carr, check them out. That's where I get all my stuff. That I would assume it's a little bit better quality than ordering this off Amazon. But if you're only going to use this for your project, this, I mean, I've had reams for 8 years on some things, and it's just the way they cut. It's not as harsh. And we're using this whole thing as a cutting tool instead of just the tip like a drill bit. So. So I pilot drilled these 1/8, 1/4. I could probably go up to 3/8 next before I use my ream, but my ream's got a pretty good point on it. Now it will take a second to get this point to start, but I just did one and I thought it was a great opportunity to show you guys how fast a ream can go through. So It's gonna take a second to get started. It's gonna be loud, so watch out. So now that I've cut through, just like I would be using a drill bit, watch how fast this ream is going to chew through the metal. I like to go a little slower, make sure your chuck is tight so it doesn't get bound up, but here we go. Now tell me you can drill a 1/2 inch hole faster with a drill bit. So now that I got these notches all bolted in, there's more bolts to the notches, okay? So there's gonna be 4 more 3/8 bolts. It's gonna hold this cross member in. Right where you see it here, it does have to be installed from the back, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop my Boyd tank down a few inches so I can slide it in from the back. This cross member is going to bridge the gap between our upper coilover mounts. So what that's gonna help with is as you load the suspension, these are gonna act like pivots and they're going to want to pull up like this. So this cross member is gonna attach top and bottom of the notches, which is gonna help stop these from flexing at all. We also have tabs with a hole. This side has holes in the tabs. Driver's side, passenger side does not. So this one is going to be a Panhard Bar bracket support, which we'll show you here in a little bit, that's on our passenger side notch. We also have a brake line tab. So we have the level 7 soft line kit from them for all of our brakes. It's all -3 soft line. So it does come with a bracket from them, but we just added it in to our cross member here so that there's no issues. We're moving the brake line mounting point to the rear of the truck and then soft lining it down to the rear axle. So this side does have gussets as well, just like the driver's side, but this side has no holes in it, all right? So no holes, passenger side, holes, driver's side. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this Boyd tank dropped down a little bit and we'll get this guy installed. Sometimes we just gotta do some unpleasant stuff for long-term gain. So orientation on this, brake line tab, passenger side, gusset with the 5/8 bolt hole, driver's side, all right? And then we got top and bottom flange. This bottom flange is gonna sit on the very bottom of your frame notch, okay? This top flange is actually gonna sit inside of the frame rail. We do this because it actually makes it much easier to install versus having both on top or both on bottom. A little trick we learned on our last coilover suspension, 63 to 72. You need coilovers for that, dude. Got you. So just like that, inside the frame rail on the top, bottom of the notch on the bottom. I forgot my hardware, BRB. Now that we've got this rear cross member in, you can kind of see a little bit better how we're putting this top flange underneath the frame rail and then down here underneath the notch. I hope you guys can see that. So this honestly makes it way easier for you guys to install in there, having it like that. So top and top or inside and inside, way easier to do. So now that we have this rear pretty much wrapped up, you can kind of see now too how you've got this upper coilover mount, and then you've got this tubular cross member that goes side to side and ties in both the C notches and frame rails. So As you compress your suspension, the weight is trying to push the end of this up, which is trying to, well, this way, I guess. See, it's trying to rotate your frame rails. So this bracket is helping stop that, any chassis flex. Brake line tab and Panhard bar support. So a tube that I'll show you here in a little bit is going to come down to one of these holes and help support this from also flexing. So a lot of stiffening built into all of these brackets to help make sure that everything is super tight and not flimsy and take care of any flex, because these frames suck, okay? Squarebody especially, but anything from 63 on up to the 87, 88, 89, depending on what it is. Squarebody, C10. C10 stopped in 87. So the frames are garbage. That's why we do a lot of frame stiffeners. So when we were building this rear 4-link kit, we really thought about that and made sure that everything is being tied together, and we're strengthening the frame as much as possible without adding like welding and boxing plates and stuff. Man, I'm not a fan of that. I like the bolt-in stuff, but I know a lot of guys like the welding stuff too. So whatever you fancy, I like bolt-in, and I think that it's stronger long-term. Okay, so I'm on the driver's side right now. This would be the bracket that I would take off of the frame rail. This is where your front of your leaf spring bolts on, and it goes to the back of the truck. So this guy is held on with 6 rivets. We've got a great video on our YouTube channel of how we like to get rid of rivets. That makes it super easy and quick. So we're gonna be taking this off and replacing it with this. So this is our front 4-link mount. Lower bar, upper bar has the same bolt pattern. We are just using 4 of the 6 holes, mainly because sometimes they don't have 6 holes. Sometimes they have 4 holes. And honestly, 4 holes is plenty. And what we're doing also is we're stepping up this hole size. The rivet would be like a 7/16 bolt. We're gonna be drilling out those holes that we're using, these 4, to 1/2 inch in the frame rail, which is super easy. You've already got a ream or a drill bit, and the holes are already there. You're not laying anything out. We're just enlarging these 4 holes, the tops and the bottoms, not the middles. Tops and bottoms to 1/2 inch. So we're using a bigger bolt, grade 8 bolt. And it also helps us get, especially on the backside, more support for this bracket. These things are also really nice. We went through and we tab and slotted, which means like this plate has a slot cut in it, but then the piece that clicks into it, it's like a puzzle piece. So this piece has a tab that goes through the slot, and then we weld it. Same with the gusset on the inside. So we're gusseting the inside, tab and slotting it, welding it, 3/16 plate. Try to get a little bit of weight out of here with some cutouts. We've put several mounting locations in here. So depending on what your ride height is, you can adjust those bars, which we'll go into that here a little bit once we get the bars installed. So this is the upper bracket for the 4-link. We have our 4-link bar will sit in here. We also have welded on a locating pin, which will sit in a factory locating pinhole on this leaf spring pad that we've welded to the rear end. So this guy is just gonna sit in there like that. That'll locate it, can't slide off, can't go anywhere. Our lower bracket is, it's awesome. Super proud of this bracket because it does so many things, and it makes this kit be able to be 100% bolt-on. Both of these upper and lowers, if you guys feel more comfortable welding this to the actual rear end, go for it. It's not gonna hurt anything. But like all of our products, I wanna make sure that anybody can do this in their driveway, in their garage, that this is the easiest install possible. This does not make it easy for us to make. So, but I'm super proud of this. What we did is basically what we're doing is it's a flip kit with more bracketry welded onto it. So this piece, this side piece where we're gonna bolt multiple things. Here we're gonna bolt our lower 4-link bar. Bushing will be inside of here, going forward in the truck. This is one piece all the way up to the side. So this goes through this, gets welded on both sides, and basically we built a flip kit on top. So this is gonna sit on the bottom of the axle just like a flip kit, and then this leaf spring pad is here so it can't rock. On the back of these brackets is where we're going to attach another bracket for the coilover. So our coilover is gonna sit behind this. On the driver's side, you will bolt on this. So this is going to be for our Panhard bar. So you want your Panhard bar as long as possible. Longer the Panhard bar, the better travel you're gonna have. So if it's short, your rear end will move side to side through suspension travel. So if it's longer, it's going to minimize, it's still gonna have movement, but the longer the bar, it's gonna minimize that rear end travel. So in this, we're using 2 5/8 bolts in the front and 1 3/4 inch bolt in the rear. Then on top of that, we are putting spacers in here. So these spacers are gonna make sure you can't over tighten the brackets, but we also made these like just barely shorter than what they need to be. So when you first bolt these up, there's gonna be just a little bit of play in here. But as you tighten them, it's gonna act like a lock washer, right? So a lock washer is round, but it's split in the middle and it's basically spring loaded. It's putting sprung pressure on this bracket. So that's gonna help make sure that this never comes loose. So I think this is a really cool design. Did some cutouts in the bottom. Again, just trying to lighten everything up. The other thing I like about this being removable and bolt on instead of us just welding a bracket to this, both of these brackets, drivers or passengers, will be the same. They all have the holes in them, so you're not wondering which is which. Second of all, we can change this very easily. If you have an application, I don't know what it would be, but I like things to be more universal than not, right? I like slotted holes, I like adjustability. So we can easily change out this bracket in the future if we ever need to without having to change out the entire assembly. This is just 2 1/2-inch bolts that go through this bracket. And we can shorten this, we can move it side to side, we can move it up and down for any need that we could see in the future as we are continually growing the truck and making changes to it. Made out of 3/16 plate. So I'm gonna just put this up here like I would a flip kit and index it in there. Helps to have a buddy, but it's Saturday and I don't have a buddy here. So you gotta put spacer in, but I'm just gonna get it loosely bolted up here quick. I've already done the other side. Looks like my jack stand is in the way a little bit, but not a big deal. Get this washer and this nut on so I don't have to hold 12 pieces at once. I'll just slide this jack stand in quick. So here we go. Use my feet. Feet, yep. Ugh. I'm gonna put the back one in. Spacer goes in between there. Again, they're just slightly short. I mean like minute so that you can get some sprung pressure on there. And I don't know if you can tell in this video, but these are silver. We do not ship anything but grade A hardware in our kits. But I don't have these big old bolts in our shipping room because we don't use them for anything else. And I haven't got the new ones yet. So these are just temporary for me, but your kits will come with grade 8 hardware, of course. So now that this is in here, get them all snugged up. Our locator pin is in that locating hole on our factory spring mount, so it is in place. I will say, before we put the 4-link bars on too, just like the Panhard bar, you want as long as possible. to help with travel. 4-link bars you also want as long as possible. So the front is kind of limited because we want to use factory holes to mount it, make it super easy for you guys. The rear though, our mounting points on this bracket are, I'm going to call them flush with the back of the axle tube. A lot of the other ones that I've seen on the market are farther forward, which would have made this bracket a lot easier to make. That's why these bolts are staggered, so I can run a tube through here with never having any clearance issues on these bolt heads. And then the rear, we have a bigger bolt because we're only using one, and we didn't want the bracket to be super wide and long. So just like the frame notches, I probably made a minimum of 15 of these, just perfecting it. So end product is super dialed. I really, really like this setup. So I'm gonna bring you in here a little bit closer and show you this bracket installed, all tightened up, just so you get a better idea of what it's supposed to look like and why we're doing what we're doing. So here's the front of the driver's side. We've got our upper bracket that locates with our center pin, our lower bracket that locates just like a flip kit would, and it locates off the bottom of the factory spring perch, or a spring pad, if you will, whatever you want to call it. We got plenty of room in here for brake lines. We got our spacers up front with our 2 5/8 bolts. Again, these will be grade 8 hardware in the kit. I just don't have any grade 8 hardware right now. Upper 4-link bar mount, lower 4-link bar mount will go in here. If we spin around to the back, you can kind of get a better idea of how we have coilover is going to come through here, down, and mount off the back of this bracket as well. So definitely the most complicated bracket in the kit, but also definitely the one I'm most proud of, that we figured all this out and I think came up with a really, really solid solution to making it bolt on. Here you can also see our 4-link bar mount comes off that we bolted to this, and it's going to shoot right over there to the other notch, which we'll take a look at here quick. So that other end's going to come over here wherever we choose to put it. So this is super adjustable, and we are also added another bar that is basically a big support for this bracket because it is so long. It does have a lot of leverage, but we're tying in the driver's side frame rail all the way over to the passenger side frame rail with this bracket, and that makes that thing super stout as well. So I'm going to show you guys quick how to assemble a coilover so you can get it on your truck. You're going to want to do this before you put it on the truck. So first thing you need to do is you have your adjuster knob here. It's got a T10 screw in it. It sucks, I know, but that's what it is. And you're gonna have to get a little screwdriver that's T10 so you can get that off of there. You cannot do this without doing that. So you're gonna have 2 of these black aluminum pieces. One's got threads in the middle. This is gonna be for the threaded portion of your coilover. The top is smooth. You have this ring here that is going to go on first, smooth portion towards the top. You can see if we don't take that knob off, this is just physically not going to fit over it. So you got to slide that on, and then you have this, I don't know what you want to call it, snap ring. It just holds this top on. So this is going to sit in this groove underneath where your knob was. So you kind of want to spread this apart as much as you can without bending it so you don't scratch the body. And you're just going to slide this into the groove. All that ring is going to do is keep this piece we already put on from being able to go past. Okay, so that's what's holding the top of your coil on. It comes with 2 of these plastic, nylon washers, whatever they are. One goes on the top of the spring, one goes on the bottom of the spring. So now I can slide my spring on. So we're assembling this upside down at the moment. Slide my spring on, another washer, and then we have our nut. Our nut is going to come with this piece of plastic in there so it's spread a little bit because this is like a split nut. So we'll be able to thread that guy on there. And all you're gonna do at first is you're going to just put some tension on it so the spring is not loose, okay? You're gonna do that the same on both sides. We can now knock out this little plastic spacer piece because we don't need that. We can also put our knob back on because we've got our spring on. Oh, I will say too, before you take this knob off, turn it clockwise as far as it will go, which will make this shorter, which will make it easier to get this collar on. Snug that guy up. Now your knob is operational again. It's also going to come with a stainless socket cap. That is going to be to tighten this nut down here. We don't want to tighten that until we have our suspension adjusted. If you're really serious, like you're going to go racing and stuff, you don't even want springs in here. You don't know what spring rate you need. You know, you need to 4-corner weigh your truck. And then what we would do is we would call Ridetech and they would spec us out a spring depending on how heavy the truck is on each wheel. So these are just going to come with a base spring that is good for AC10. You can go farther than that. In most cases, you will not need to go farther than that. Unless you're doing some serious competitive racing, I wouldn't screw with it at all. But if you are, you're going to want to 4-corner weigh this thing and have them spec out your springs for you. So now that we got this thing snugged up, it is ready to go on the truck, but I want to just sit here and explain that to you quick because it can be a little confusing. We're ready to go ahead and put on our 4-link bars. So these bars are the exact same length, top and bottom. And what you want to do is measure these out center of that sleeve to center of the other side sleeve. That measurement will be 28¼ inches center to center. Now that's going to be a good starting point, but we really can't fine tune that until the truck is on its wheels and the full weight of the vehicle. You have to have the bed, interior, motor. It may seem like a little bit of weight, but a little bit of weight will drastically change several dimensions. And I'll go over that at the end of the video. We get that phone call a lot where guys are trying to assemble like a Panhard bar or something like, oh, hey, it doesn't fit. Well, 9 times out of 10, they just don't have the truck assembled. They're just putting the parts on, right? So at the end of your build is when you want to adjust out all your suspension and get your degrees and your angles and your center, everything dialed in. But 28¼ center to center on these 4-link bars, top and bottom, that's going to be a great starting point, and that's where we designed it to kind of float there in the middle. I've already assembled these, but make sure you put a little bit of anti-seize on these threads. It'll just make your life easier as time goes on. You drive the truck, it gets wet. It'll just help be able to adjust these in the future. So I'm just going to take my tape measure like we talked about. I'm going to measure center to center, 28¼ So the only thing you need to do to adjust these is you're just going to spin the end in the bar. So I'm going to shoot for that measurement and adjust it accordingly until it's there. So that one's good. And then let's see, this one needs to be maybe half a turn bigger. Also right now we have these polyurethane bushings in here. We get these from Ridetech. We use those on motor mounts, suspension stuff. I think I may switch these out for Delrin because the front I'm going to run Delrin bushings. We may make it an option. We may just include poly. Poly's a great choice. Delrin is a little more of a harsh ride, but stiffer for what we're going to be wanting to do. And so I'm going to get these shoved in here. I already know where mine are going to want to sit because I know what I want my ride height to be. And I've already built this kit. So this is me just reinstalling everything from mock-up. but we will talk about why we do one or the other. All right, so anti-seize. So we've got two different bars that look very similar. The longer one is going to be our actual Panhard bar. The shorter one is just a brace, which is going to run from the driver's side frame rail down to the Panhard bar mount on the passenger side frame rail. Because we've got so much adjustment, we'll show you here in a minute, we've got so much adjustment that we chose to run basically just a brace from frame rail down to Panhard bar. The actual Panhard bar will be right under this, and this will help keep that bracket from moving under a load side to side. So just got my heim joints here. There is a left and a right. I don't know which one I have in my hand right now. It looks like a right. Flip it over. Oh, good tip actually while we're talking about it. If you don't know which one is left and right, left-handed bungs always have this groove machined into them. The right-handed thread bungs do not have a groove. So left-hand thread will have a groove in the bung itself. And there I thought it was a right hand, so I started spinning it right. It's confusing, okay? So this bar I'm gonna set just like I did our 4-link bars. A, I'm gonna make sure that they're both threaded in evenly. And B, I'm going to set this up initially at 34¼ inches. Now, most likely we will adjust this after that, but that is a decent starting point. The location of this up and down in the truck is very important. And what you want to do is kind of imagine you're looking at the back of the axle housing. It's got tubes center line, so center of the tube. You want to have your Panhard bar always below that center line, no matter what. If you have that above center line, which you'll see in some other kits, they'll be above the rear axle. If you're in a turn and you apply throttle, most of the time you're going to lose traction on your inside tire. So not good for racing around cones or road racing. So we want this bar below the center of the tube of the axles all the time. Now this bar doesn't have to be flat. Ideally, I would like to see it flat because it just helps with the range of motion. This bar is physically attached to the driver's side frame rail, and this side pivots with the rear end. So as flat as you can get this, I would say that's best because it's gonna move in an arc, and which can move your rear end side to side. So center is like a neutral, or level Panhard bar is like a neutral point. Now it can be angled. What you're looking for here is center of the axle housing, left to right, down. You want this center of this bar to be below that axle tube center line, okay? Typically several inches. So kind of the lower you can get the bar, the better it's gonna handle and accelerate through the corner. We're in the home stretch. It's only easy from here. And then adjustments, you forget about that until the truck's done, and then you worry about all the adjustments, all right? So a couple other things to explain. So the driver's side mount is gonna be on this tubular brace right here. There will be no spacers used on either side of this heim on this side. So I'm gonna go ahead, get this thing in here. All right, so to put our Panhard bar on, we're gonna start on the driver's side. This is the mount that we had bolted on. This side is gonna get 2 3/8, well here they are, 2 3/8 spacers on either side of the heim. So I'm gonna get this guy up here. We'll get her. Don't scratch it. Are we in? We're in. That mount on there. Throw on our nut. Then we'll go to the other side. On this bracket, we're gonna use 2 1/2-inch spacers on either side of the heim. I'm gonna get those guys started in here. Actually, I'm gonna use this bolt. I had the wrong bolt in my hand. now we can go ahead and assemble our tube brace that's gonna go right above where we're gonna mount this. And then it's gonna go over to the mount on the driver's side. All right, so now that we've got all this installed, you can see it a little bit better. This is our brace going down to our Panhard bar mount that's welded to the frame notch. And then right below that, you can see our actual Panhard bar running down to the bracket that we've put there. So if it looks tight, it is. But what I will say is what we have here is a 4 9-inch. This is not much, but I mean, it's wider than your standard 12 bowl or 10 bowl, whatever you have in your truck. So you can see though, we have plenty of room here for our fill that we added to it. We have chose to run this as close to the rear end as possible. This can certainly move back. You can see with our rear frame cross member, we've got plenty of room to go back. I just didn't want all that weight swinging behind the truck as we're driving this thing around doing autocross. So that came out really good, super happy with it. Again, you can see here, this is our brace to help brace this Panhard bar mount, and then this is our actual Panhard bar. So we can move these wherever we want, wherever we need after everything is assembled, full weight on the ground, truck completely done, bed on, everything. It'll be the same with the coilovers here. So you can also see here, this is our Level 7 Motorsports softline kit. Our cross member here will have this bracket on welded to this tube brace, and you can just take your brake line, put it in there, and then put your clip on there, and you've got a nice mounting spot for your soft line to come down to your rear end. So really happy with this. We're in the home stretch. I think all in all at this point, I mean, I already had like the notch cut out, but I'm probably 3 hours in right now. And the only thing I really have left is to put these coilovers on, which is just the lower brackets, and the upper bracket's already attached to our frame notch here. So, all right, so here for our lower brackets, they're the same side to side. We have 2 lefts and 2 rights. So they sit like that on the mount. So these are adjustable on the bracket, and they're also adjustable here. So that's how you can easily adjust ride height. And we did that in 1/2-inch increments on the axle bracket. So just some 3/8 bolts are gonna hold those guys on. Bring you on in here. Put you down, washer, bolt. So what I do want to show you though is the shock that we're supplying, or the coilover that we're supplying with this kit, is a Ridetech single adjustable. It's got 24 different positions to adjust the shock. It's got a 225-pound spring that comes with it, and the ride height that they spec out for that specific coilover shock is going to be 14.5 inches. So I already know where I want my ride height to be on this truck. So I can kind of get a rough idea here. Right now I'm at 15 center to center. They want to see it at 14.5. So all I have to do is move up 1 set of holes, and now I am at 14.5 inches there. So that'll get me close. I also have adjustment with the spring itself, right? So I can put more load, preload on that spring and raise the truck. I can take it off and I can lower the truck. I can also just use these brackets, come in here and plop them around where I need them. So lots of adjustment there. We're probably gonna max out what we've got here as far as trying to get this truck down on the ground for what we want to do. But this kit is also great for the street. There is nothing about this kit that I wouldn't run every single day on the street. I think that from what we've done, this is the best kit out there for a bolt-in 4-link for your square body. It's extremely well thought out, extremely strong. I say it all the time, but best on the market, man. I'm super proud of this kit. So I'm gonna go ahead, get my brackets on here, and then I will go ahead and also get my coilover bolted up. So I like to put the adjuster on top. We've got a nice little cutout here in our bracket to do that. You can run these like this, and you can put the adjuster on the bottom if that's gonna be easier for you. I just like it on the top, and honestly, I feel like that's the way the shock should mount. Could be wrong, I don't know. I feel like it's safer for the adjuster at least. Coilovers are gonna come with these stepped bushings. They're aluminum. I slide those in the top and bottom. Now I'll just slide right into the bracket, put your bolts in, and the bottom will need them as well. Here is where I will need to either raise the truck or lower it. So you can see how there's a difference here. It's just because there's no weight on the spring. So I'm gonna lower my rear end so I can get that 1/2-inch bolt in there. All right, so now we got the rear end lowered. Just go ahead and throw in our 1/2-inch bolt. This is why I like to leave everything loose until I'm ready, because it just makes it easier to get stuff in, and then I'm gonna go back and tighten everything up. So now we have the entire 4-link installed on Project 8 Ball. I'm gonna show you guys an add-on. So what we did is we made sure that this 4-link kit would work with a rear sway bar. So what we've got here is we found a QA1 sway bar that will work. I believe it's 1.25 inch diameter. But what we got is just a QA1 sway bar for a square body Chevy. And then we made our own brackets that bolt to the inside of the frame that use the same holes as the frame notch so that we can tie that whole thing in together here. So what we've got here is our 2 brackets for the sway bar. So one is taller than the other, and that's just because we've got to go around this factory dimple in the frame here. So it's going to sit inside. It's going to sit inside the frame rail, but we've got to space it away from the frame using spacers. So the long one will go on the driver's side. The short one will go on the passenger side with spacers on the passenger side. So here is our driver's side bracket. It is the taller one, and it's going to use, how can I show you this? These 2 bolts inside the frame here will be these 2. And then on the driver's side, you're gonna have to drill this one hole, but really you just use the bracket to mark out the hole. We're putting this hole out here because on the passenger side, you'll see that's the factory shock hole on the passenger side. So one hole to drill here, and then the rest will bolt in. The QA1 sway bar does come with its own brackets. I didn't like the way they fit, and honestly, they didn't really make sense to clear the other side. So I figure I will just make my own to where we can tie everything together. I think this is a better way to do it with our kit. I know a lot of guys I know a lot of the times you don't need a rear sway bar, especially just like daily street driving. I don't know that I'd recommend the rear sway bar. Certainly you can put it in, but for regular street driving, I wouldn't say it's a necessity. So I've even heard that some guys don't run rear sway bars doing autocross stuff either. That may or may not be true. I don't know. So here's that hole that we had to drill, but as you can see with this bracket in here, already using these 2 holes, the bracket's gonna show you right where you need to drill that additional hole. And then this thing is just gonna bolt right in. Don't mind my fuel hose. I have got to route it still. I put some clamps on it, but you can see we have plenty of room here for our return and everything. So on the QA1 setup, it already comes with all these end links, which we're going to use. We're just going to throw this in here for now. There may be some powder coat in that hole. I might have to get out. I'll thread it in. And this would be another one that I would adjust with the rest of the suspension after the truck is fully built. But it's going to go something like that. We got plenty of adjustment points here. What I would like to see on this sway bar is that this part of the bar is level at ride height, full weight of the vehicle on the ground. I would adjust this bar to be level at that point. And these brackets that clamp onto the rear axle housing, they are exactly what comes with the QA1 kit. So I think we're gonna offer the sway bar with the brackets if you guys wanna order it from us. And then basically we're just gonna manufacture these brackets and send you what QA1 would from them when you're ready to install. And now that we're on this side, same two, which ones are they? Yeah, same two bolts we're gonna use, which I've already taken out here. And then your kit from us is gonna come with 3 spacers, 2 1-inch and 1 3/4. So the 2 1-inch is gonna go on the notch. The 1 3/4 is gonna go here where your factory shock stud would be. And that's just because the frame is dimpled right here. So this one needs to be a little bit shorter. Go grab my short bracket. And this side will come with longer bolts because we have these spacers. So I'll get those in here for you. Make sure all of our brake lines are tucked out of the way. We'll throw this dude right in here. I'm gonna go ahead and put my brake line behind it. So it flows pretty good right there. And we've got our last one front here through the original hole. 3/4 inch long spacer. I'm gonna try not to drop all this. Washer, nut. I don't know why my bolt doesn't want to go through. Smacky, smacky. Just like the other side, tighten them up. Need to adjust it in a little bit. And I will fine tune this once the truck is on the ground. I'm gonna end the video off there. We got a lot of work to keep going on. You can see my hand, but that's okay. I'm no professional. So we've got our 4-link in 8-ball and I'm ready to move on to the next step. I think what I'm gonna do is probably put the frame stiffener in. I know guys are gonna have questions on this 4-link kit when we release it. So I wanted to go ahead and make an install video quick to kind of address a lot of that. And I know you guys want an install video on the frame stiffener, so I think that's where our time is gonna be best spent for this next video. So that should go off pretty quick. To spin you around here, I have got the entire frame stiffener done here in powder, ready to go in the truck. I have not started anything as far as prep work to get going on the frame stiffener. So I think that'll be cool to show you guys everything there. But if you guys have any questions about this 4-link kit or any of our other products, please give us a call, shoot us an email, tinworksfabrication.com for all of your C10 suspension needs. Thanks, guys.